Fake HOA rammed our garage. My 13-year-old came out in body armor with an AK-74. The first sound was deafening. It wasn't the crunch of gravel or the hum of a passing truck. It was the sickening metallic crash of steel colliding with wood, the unmistakable sound of something massive plowing into our garage door. I dropped the mug of coffee I was holding, ceramic shattering across the kitchen floor. My wife screamed from upstairs, and in that moment, my pulse spiked so hard I thought my heart might rip right through my chest. We lived in a quiet cul-de-sac, or so I thought. Our land stretched wider than most of the neighbors, and we kept to ourselves. My wife tended her small vegetable garden, and I worked odd jobs after the company I'd given 15 years to downsize me. Life wasn't easy, but it was ours. Then came the HOA, or at least the group that claimed to be the HOA. From the beginning, things felt off. No official paperwork, just men in polos with clipboards and smug faces, demanding fees for everything from how we painted our shutters to where my son left his bike. I'd never signed into any HOA. My deed was clean, but these men came with threats, acting like they owned us. I resisted. I told them to shove their fake bylaws where the sun didn't shine. I thought they'd give up and move on. But that morning proved I was wrong. When I ran outside, half the garage door was caved in. A black SUV with tinted windows sat in the driveway, engine still running, bumper mangled from impact. Three men stepped out, broad shoulders, tactical boots, and the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you can hurt someone and get away with it. "This is what happens when you ignore notices," the leader sneered. "You think you don't have to pay the HOA? Think again. This property is under our control now." My fists clenched. My wife stood at the window, trembling, clutching her phone. I told her to call the cops, but deep down I knew how this would go. The last time I reported them, the sheriff's deputy shrugged. "Civil matter," he said. No one wanted to stand up to these people. But what happened next wasn't something I orchestrated. It was my son, 13 years old, scrawny, with a mop of dark hair and a face still soft with childhood. But he'd grown up listening to my stories about my military service, watching documentaries, tinkering in the garage. And more than anything, he hated bullies. When the SUV rammed the garage, he must have been upstairs already prepping. Because just as those men took their second step toward me, the garage door rattled again, and out walked my boy. He was wearing an old Kevlar vest I had tucked away from my service days, too big for him, but strapped tight with belts. His face was pale, but his jaw was set with a determination I'd never seen before. And in his hands, cradled with practiced care, was the AK-74 replica I'd built from a decommissioned kit. Not a toy, not airsoft. A functional rifle I'd locked away, never intending for him to use. "Step back," my son said, his voice cracking with youth but steady enough to chill me to the bone. The men froze. One laughed. "You gonna shoot us, kid?" My son raised the rifle just slightly, finger hovering, not on the trigger, but close enough to send a message. "You ram our house again," he said, "and I will." The leader took a step forward, testing him. My son didn't flinch. His small frame looked almost ridiculous under that heavy vest, but there was something in his eyes, a fire, a steel, that made even grown men hesitate. I stepped between them fast. My heart was pounding. Pride, fear, and rage tangled together inside me. "You've made your point," I growled at the thugs. "Now get off my land before this escalates into something you can't crawl back from." For a long moment, no one moved. The SUV's engine purred in the background. The air was thick with tension. And then, like cowards always do, they backed down. "This isn't over," the leader spat, jabbing a finger toward me. "We'll be back. And next time, your little soldier won't save you." They climbed into the SUV, peeled out of the driveway, and disappeared down the road. The silence after was deafening. My wife came rushing down, tears in her eyes, and pulled our son into her arms. The rifle clattered to the ground. My boy, who had stood like a warrior just moments ago, broke down sobbing in her embrace. He was still a child. That night, none of us slept. The garage door was wrecked, my nerves shattered. But something deeper had shifted. My son had stood his ground, not because I asked him to, but because he saw injustice and refused to bow to it. The fight wasn't over. The fake HOA returned again and again, trying new tactics, threatening liens, dumping trash on our yard, even slashing our tires. But every time, they were met with resistance, not just from me, but from neighbors who had watched, horrified, as the truth came out. You see, courage is contagious. When my son walked out in body armor, rifle in hand, he didn't just protect us. He lit a fire under the entire neighborhood. People started questioning the so-called HOA, digging into records, uncovering fraud. The police couldn't ignore it anymore. An investigation was launched. Arrests were made. The fake HOA crumbled. Years later, when my son tells the story, he laughs. "Dad, I was terrified," he admits. "But I thought, if I don't do something, they'll just keep winning." That moment became a turning point for him, and for me. I realized that courage doesn't always wear a uniform or carry years of training. Sometimes it wears braces and a hand-me-down vest. Sometimes it's 13 years old and shaking, but still refuses to give up. And in the end, that's the lesson I hold on to. Bullies, whether they call themselves HOAS or anything else, only win when we let fear silence us. But when even the youngest among us finds their voice, their strength, their will to fight back, tyranny doesn't stand a chance.